I'll be covering pathology from these videos onwards. So first video will be about the causes of cell injury and how a cell responds to various stimulus. So any cell, when it's functioning normally, will be able to produce more of it proteins and will be able to multiply and do a lot of normal works. So when there's a stimuli, the cell will respond to it accordingly, and if the stimulus is to a very large extent, it will cause various changes in the cells. The various responses a cell can have is first you'll get adapted to the condition. For example, you go to a cold climate, you will adapt to the cold climate. There won't be any major changes in your body metabolism and how you function. Once you come back to your hometown, everything will become normal. So in the same way, the cells will get adapted to the stimuli. It's a very small stimulus, but once the stimulus removed, it will come back to its normal form. The different adaptations of cell are it can get atrophied, hypertrophied, hyperplasia, dysplasia, or metaplasia. So I'll explain all of this in this video. So before starting of all of that, let's analyze the main causes of cell injury. So any injury to the cell will boil down to one reason, which is hypoxia. Due to hypoxia, there's inadequate energy production and the cell won't be able to synthesize its required energy, proteins, or its normal organelles to function properly. So any problem, you're going to have hypoxia in the cell. So what are the different causes of this hypoxia? It may be due to ischemia or cardiopulmonary failure or deficient oxygen supply to a tissue due to other reasons like poisoning or something like that. Any bacterial infection, viral infection, fungal infection, protozoal infection, worm infestation, all of those, immunologic reactions, our body's response to all of those microorganisms and changes, congenital disorders, chemical injuries, physical injuries, and nutritional imbalances. All of those are the main causes for cell injury, and any type of cell injury can be fitted into one of these categories. Okay, so the various ways the cell responds are, first it gets adapted to the stimulus. So the different forms of adaptation are atrophy, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, dysplasia, or metaplasia. So an example for atrophy would be in case you don't use your muscles regularly for a long period of time, they get atrophied or smaller in size. Okay, and hypertrophy is going to be the opposite of this. When you exercise a muscle and give it adequate nutrition, it's going to get hypertrophied. A very good example for hypertrophy and atrophy would be a muscle. Your hyperplasia's increase in cell count. A classic example of this would be in case of your menstrual cycle, where there's a development of the uterus, the outer layers of the uterus, where there's a proliferation or increase in number of cells. So that's an example of hyperplasia. Dysplasia is a condition where the cell is not fully differentiated into its fully functional form, and it has certain shortcomings. For example, a mature blood cell and a sickle cell blood cell are both functional, but sickle cell under low atmospheric oxygen content, it starts sickling. So that is an example of dysplasia. It's not fully mature and it's not fully dysfunctional. It's somewhere in between, and this is a range of dysfunctional maturation of cells. And metaplasia is a condition where a cell changes from one type to another type. A good example of this would be uh, cancer. Any neoplasia, precursor to neoplasia, there would be metaplasia. For example, people who smoke, the squamous epithelium in their trachea will be replaced by columnar epithelium, which is a much thicker epithelium response to the smoke and that irritation that smoke causes in that epithelium. So that's an example of metaplasia. So quick summary of this video: the various causes of cell injury. The main cause of any kind of cell injury is hypoxia. Hypoxia can be due to ischemia, cardiopulmonary failure, or deficient oxygen supply, or due to various bacterial, fungal, viral infections, immunologic reactions, congenital disorders, chemical injuries, or physical injuries, and nutrition imbalances. When any of these are present, first response the cell does is gets adapted to it. There might either be atrophy, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, dysplasia, or metaplasia, and all of these are reversible. Okay, as soon as the stimulus is removed, the cell goes back to its original number and size. So that would be about the cell adaptation. In the next video we will be talking about the later stages of cell injury, which will be a reversible injury which progresses into death. So when from adaptation to death, there are few steps in between, like there are intracellular accumulations and calcifications that will be covered in the next video. So thank you.